In today's video, we're going to be doing some mixed media using Distress Oxides and Spritz. Hi, I'm Stacy and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy and are inspired to create. Let's jump right in and get started. First off, I've got a multimedia silicone mat. You can get them in a lot of different places. Amazon. I got mine at Hobby Lobby. You can get them at a lot of different, Waffle Flower has one. A lot of companies do. You can get them on Amazon pretty cheaply, so just look around. You could even use a glass mat. I'm starting off by doing some paper smooshing, and that's some Strathmore watercolor paper. And I put the ink down, sprayed it with a little bit of water, and pounced it. And then I decided I want to go in with an acetate sheet so I could see where it's going. And each time in between each layer, when I'm ready for it to be set, I will take my heat tool and dry it. If you don't dry it in between, you're not going to get textures. It's just going to keep blending. So I wanted some texture and some different variations. I'm using the colors. I end up using the colors Peacock Feathers, Speckled Egg, Uncharted Mariner, and Vintage Photo. And I just am going to continue to layer them up. I'm trying to leave a little bit of white space so that my card has some room to breathe and it's just not heavy ink. And I just keep going and keep layering. And this is a fairly new process to me. In my last video, I showed you at my attempt at mixed media, and so I really liked how it came out. It's very forgiving, and I feel like if you aren't happy with it in the end, you can die cut from it, or you could put it up and come back to it later, and or add more ink, or however you want to use it, or you could just throw it in the trash can. It is just a piece of paper, or flip it over and use the back side. So don't be afraid. Just get your fingers inky, or if you don't like that, put on some gloves and get your mat inky. This I'm going to put up for Saturday Morning Makes. Saturday Morning Makes is an open collaboration. It was created and is hosted by Jill Norwood. Hi Jill, if you're watching. And all you have to do is use the hashtag satmornmakes. I'll put all of the information down below in the description, along with a link to Jill's channel. Please go on over and show her some love. She's going through some things right now with family, and she could use some positive words and vibes and prayers. So go on over. Jill's a very lovely person, and she does a lot for this community. Every person that posts, she tries to comment and watch and really watches their video, and she shares it and she mentions them on her channel, and she just loves seeing people create. She wants them to create. So please go over and show her some love and support. So I took in a Tim Holtz stencil and I just ink blended some of that peacock's feather through it, and I just put it all over. I knew a lot of this was going to get covered up. And then I took some stamps from one of his sets. These are sets that I don't believe have names. I couldn't find any names on them. I got them at Hobby Lobby. I looked. You can get them at scrapbook.com. You can find some on Amazon. Simon Says Stamp. There's a lot of places to get these. So if you like them, or you like what, some of the products I'm using, you can go get them there. But I encourage you to use what you have. I don't think that we have to go out and buy everything that we see others use. Most of us have a pretty good crafty stash, and I bet if you look in your stash, you can find something that'll be very similar or completely different, that you may just get inspired to create something with different products. Now I took that Distress Spritz, I shook it very well. I didn't want my nozzle to get clogged, make sure all that pigment's mixed in, all the shimmers, and I used some Uncharted Mariner, and I sprayed it because I hadn't used it yet onto my mat, so that I could get it flowing, didn't see how it's going to come out, and then I sprayed it, and then I'm dipping the cardstock back in there, and then I went in with Rusty Hinge, and it's this pretty copper color. Now there's some white pigment ink that is a close to my heart pigment ink, but use whatever you've got. They're all pretty much the same. And I'm just moving the stencil around. I'd held my image up. I was trying to to make sure that it ended up in the areas where I wanted it. And I wanted some more white space. I wish I had actually tamed down those colors originally, but I do like the different texture that the stencil gives. Now that's Dr. P.H. Martin Bleed Proof White Ink, and I just put a little bit down on my mat, put a little water, used a paintbrush, and then put some splatters. I thought it helped brighten up that background. And then with all the shimmers and everything, the white splatter, because it's a matte, it helps to tone down and tone down the shimmers. I mean, the shimmers are gorgeous, so I need some shimmers, but I didn't want all the splats to be shimmery. And then this is a stamp set from Simon Says Stamp, and I showed the stamp set back portion of it. I don't know how to pronounce that flower's name. You probably do. So, and I'm going to go ahead and color this up with Copics. You can put this on watercolor paper and watercolor it. You could even watercolor it with your Distress Oxides if you want it to match. You could use colored pencils. I'm using Copic Express It blending cardstock that I picked up at Simon Says Stamp. There's a lot of companies that carry it. Blick Art Materials has it. You'll probably find it other places too, but I know that those two have them. And then I'm just going in, and I went for my lightest, then I'm going to work to my darkest. Usually I work in reverse, but I noticed on this Express It blending cardstock that if I work from darkest to lightest, a lot of times the lightest will lift my darker shades so much that I don't get the contrast that I want. So a lot of times I'll do it in reverse on this paper. Other times I don't. I'll start out how I'm comfortable doing it and then work backwards. So color however you want to color. You could use colored pencils. You could use other alcohol markers. Like I said, watercolors. You could probably even do this in gouache. That would be pretty too. And I'm just trying to put the shadows in where the petals connect to the flowers or the flower and overlap. It's not, realistic, accurate, but I do want some variation there with shading. And honestly, after this video, just even today, I went back in and I took a different marker. I took a B99, I believe, and went into the deepest parts of the flower and added a little more texture. So if you color with alcohol markers, you can reactivate those and color them years later and still get a good blend. It's pretty much like that with most mediums, but you can go back. You could do it the same day. You could do it a week later, a day later, a month, year. And I just encourage you to get whatever supplies you have and use them. I know that I have a lot of supplies, I'm a crafty hoarder like a lot of others, and I'll admit it, it's part of the fun of crafting for me is also collecting. I mean, is it really any different than collecting baseball cards or sports cards or figures, So for me, sometimes I just like collecting the different stamps and papers, and then I have to have the full set syndrome, which I don't have the full set of everything, but pretty close. But you don't need all that. You can start out with a piece of paper, something to color with, or something to stamp with, and make a card. And scissors work too. You don't need dies and die cuts, or you could use stickers. The Dollar Tree has that. But on this card, I was inspired by a card that I saw, and her name is Joy, and I can't remember her name, but the colors, the fact that she used flowers, and I was looking for another mixed media project that I wanted to do, and I noticed that her style's kind of shifted, and I really like it because she's got this beautiful balance in between what I consider like the OG mixed media that was more grungy, and now we have a lot of other products where mixed media is being incorporated in that are much lighter or brighter, and I've seen that. Even Tim's line has changed. It's got brighter colors, and what is it, Diane Wakely, I believe, has brighter colors, and she's mixed media. And so I can't remember Joy's channel's name, but I'll link it down below so you can see the card that I was inspired by. And I just took the color tones and I don't, it's similar but not the same. But yeah, she definitely inspired me. So I will link her down below. And then I take some BVs. I believe these are BVs. Violets, and I think a BV in there. They're V's, they're violets. And I wanted that contrast or pop of purple, just a different color. I could have went in and I could have made these white. I could have made these a different tone of blue, which I considered, but I thought I really think the purple will add a pop of color. And those leaves, they're not traditional. I mean, they're not green, but I really liked it, especially with the colors in the background and using that vintage photo and the rusty hinge. So, and then here I fussy cut the image. I know a lot of people don't like fussy cutting. I don't mind it. This one was a little bit more challenging. So, because I did take a craft knife and go in those little areas because I didn't want the white portion there. But a lot of times I'll leave that and just fussy cut all the other areas. And then I'm taking a memento marker and I am going around the edges that I fussy cut because it will get rid of that white core of the paper and any little jagged edges or portions maybe you don't get the smoothest. It hides those imperfections. And then I heat embossed a sentiment. And that sentiment is from a Hero Arts and Gina K collaboration. It's called Friendship Blooms, and I really like the sentiments in all of Gina's sets. So, and then I'm taking my scissors and I'm roughing up those edges. I really want to distress them. I want to expose some of the white core of the paper because I am going to mount this on a card that a white card base, and I want a border around it because I want that brightness to even out the heavy inking background. And then these are some die cuts that I just cut from white cardstock that they're from MFT. I don't think they're available at MFT anymore, but there's all kinds of different greenery dies out there. They're called Grande Greenery Solid, and they also have an outline, which I've used before. It's super pretty. And then I'm just nesting that. I got some brown cardstock there because I thought it went well with the color palette for the sentiment, and I heat embossed it in white. And then I used some press and seal to pick it up. I laid it out how I wanted it, and now I'm going and gluing all the little bits to the back of it that where they overlap. And then I'm going to line it with phone tape and pop it up, and I'm just using that press and seal so I could see and position it and push it down and pull it up. Then I'm going to trim those edges off, and there's the completed card. Isn't it pretty? I love the colors. Thanks for spending some time with me, guys. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.